This is All the Right Marketing, a publishing podcast by Cardinal Rule Press. Now, here's your host, Maria Dismonti.
Welcome to All the Right Marketing, where we talk with business owners and industry leaders about marketing their programs and their products. Primarily, we talk with anyone who loves books, whether you are a writer, a wannabe writer, a librarian, a bookseller, blah, 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 all the things. So anything coming out of this conversation can then be taken into different industries because we really focus on the marketing aspect of getting the word out there about books. Today's guest is Amanda
That's okay.
Say it again.
Amanda Esch-Cormier.
Esch-Cormier. Today's guest is Amanda Esch-Cormier, and she is a children's book author, a singer, and an educator. So I'm excited to dig into all of those things during our interview today. She's a member of the Society of Children's Books Writers and Illustrators and 12 by 12, and she's actually going to be going to an event this weekend in the Metro Detroit area with SCBWI, which is very cool. In 2018, she was the joint recipient of both the Glamour Women of the Year, and there was another award, the ESPY?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Good for you. When she isn't writing stories for children and their families, Amanda enjoys going out with friends and family, traveling, gardening, singing, and exercising in nature. My kind of gal. She is always the first person on the dance floor. Amanda lives in Michigan with her husband, 2 daughters, and their pets, Izzy, Jolene, and Dolly. Jolene and Dolly. And let me tell you, if I were to say one more word, working 9 to 5 and putting it all together because you love Dolly Parton.
I do. Yeah. My previous job before the pandemic was actually in education at the Country Music Hall of Fame. So real big Dolly fan. We actually just recently moved back to Michigan. We were in Tennessee for a while.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so can we go back because I'm very curious about this. So as a kid, you were obsessed with old country music, which you felt like was kind of uncool. And
nerdy, yep.
And so then how did you get in? Tell me about the job you did before writing. Like, what was this all about? Yeah,
so I'll try to make it as short as possible. But so I grew up in Michigan singing and really obsessed with country music, especially like older stuff. And I remember even like when I was like 8, my friends were listening to like No Doubt, and I'm like, Johnny Cash is cool. And that continued through adolescence and college. And I went to Michigan State for music and still was kind of like the weird kid who wanted to sing country music. And when everyone else was singing opera. And I definitely think I annoyed some professors there, but and then I sang in bands and stuff there. And then when I kind of realized like, oh, I don't really think I want to be a choir teacher, then I changed my major and did like American Cultural Studies and History, and then kind of found my way into working at the Country Music Hall of Fame straight out of college as a tour guide. And then, the recession and all that happened. And so I ended up, when my husband got a job in New York, went back to school for education, started teaching, and then taught for about 4 or 5 years. And then I was still doing contract work for the Hall of Fame and in that education space. And so they had called me when like content and managerial position came open in that department. And so started doing their programs and creating for them.
Awesome. So you're able to mesh together your love of country and your background in education and put them together. That is amazing. And you said you just moved back to Michigan a couple of years ago?
Just this last October.
Okay. So now we're getting into the space of you becoming a writer of children's picture books. So tell us about your picture book, Wild and Beautiful.
So Wild and Beautiful was originally written, it was shorter as like a little poem to my daughters, because I saw this, in my classroom, and then like buying books as a parent, I was seeing that like, if a mom is in a book, she's kind of this like static figure, like she doesn't necessarily do a whole lot or isn't really a person. She's just kind of this like object. And for little girls, I think, especially, I mean, all kids, but little girls need to see that like when they're an adult and they're a mom, they're still a person. So, so my thought was with Wild and Beautiful, like as a child, I wanted to do these things. And then as I got older, I did them. But part of it is like, but nothing compares to you. You're still great.
Yeah.
But you can do all these things too, or whatever you want to do.
I love that.
And so it was started as like a little poem, and then I kind of built it out as a picture book.
That's wonderful. And it's being released. Is it out for sale now? I think
It's out for sale now. Yep.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And is this your debut book, correct?
Yes, that's my debut.
Okay. So we have to back up a little bit because
Okay.
how long were you in the writing space? You've been in Michigan for about a year. So how did you get the book deal? I think most people want to know that journey.
So I actually self-published that. So I created my
Beautiful.
own imprint and did that
Wonderful.
myself. So I didn't even query that one. I was like, I had kind of read about it, and I'm querying some other projects now, but
Did you do that with the support of the SCBWI folks, or did you kind of, okay.
Yeah, I had, I don't know if anyone sees the picture, but I had the big book and I read all about it. And did a million Google searches, and I used Readsy to find like editors and stuff to help me kind of learn the process.
That's wonderful. That's how a lot of people right now are getting started, and it's a great space to be, and then to connect with other writers. Are you currently in 12 by 12 as well?
Yep.
Oh, that's keeping you busy because you're writing every single month, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been in a slump this month, but yeah.
Girl, come on. What's the date? You got a couple days left. You can do this. Okay, so you are, I have to say, self-published authors are kind of my favorite people to talk to because you have your hands in marketing. Cardinal Rule Press, as a small publisher, we do a lot of marketing for our authors, but we also educate them and we encourage them to market themselves as well, because when everybody plays a part, you're going to see more eyeballs and more visibility on your product, which is your book. So if you could share with our listeners, what is the most creative way that you have been able to share with others that you have Wild and Beautiful on the market?
I think, Instagram has been the main focus, especially, this came out in November of 2021, where I feel like a lot of parents kind of went back into hibernation. So there was no in-person anything that I could get my hands on. Also, that was when I moved, which was poor planning on my part, but that's an aside. But Instagram has been really helpful, like making reels, and also just finding like bookstagrammers and making connections with them and having them post about my book. And also, like I used to be a really passive person on Instagram, and the last year or so I've like made a much bigger point to connect with others. Like I never was like a person who commented a whole lot, just kind of like likes and move along. And so it's also been a really conscious effort to like share other people's work constantly and comment and tell people like, these amazing things they're doing. And that has just kind of like grown the community that I've seen on Instagram too. Like, like if you share stuff, people are more likely to share yours, I guess.
Well, I think that's wonderful because you don't want to be a taker, you want to be a giver, right? Exactly, so you want to be able to give just as much. And you can tell when you scroll across people's pages, you can see who those are who may not be giving as much. So I like how you built that community. And so how much would you say, because I know there are some writers who say, oh no, we are not going to spend any time on social media. That's not where I want to be, but it's literally free advertising and marketing. So how much time would you say you're spending in a day, or maybe what's your routine and your habits around it?
So right now I would say I spend too much, but again, it's like more on the just seeing what everyone else is doing. So when I'm in a good schedule, which has not been this month because of family stuff, but when I'm in a good schedule, I'll try to like set aside, let's say like a morning a week to like plan out what I want to post. In a perfect world, that's what I would do. Or like if I have, let's say my husband's watching a movie I don't really want to watch, I will be like, okay, so I'm gonna spend an hour and I'm gonna go like connect with others for this hour. Like, so I wouldn't say that I have a great schedule with this going right now, but it's a plan for this fall when my kids like start going to school more full-time again, to like sit down and intentionally create things and then, spread them out through a week or two instead of just like having it on a whim. Because for me, at least, if I do that, then I spend way too much time just looking and not creating. And that can be a real deep hole of just like, oh, 4 hours went by, cool.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's good. And I like to take notes during these. And so I put, posting, planning, and then also connecting. So making sure that you're posting frequently, making sure that you're planning some stuff out. But at the same time, I'm hearing right now that, and this interview is taking place in July of 2022, but right now, individuals are saying that they appreciate and they really enjoy the organic post just as much, if not more, than the branded or the scheduled post, right? So you might see something that looks, and in Cardinal Rule Press, we are doing way too much of this right now, but we'll have, like a picture of our book, and it will be like a professional photo shoot of the book, and then we put a message below. But then if we take a picture, one of our team members is up north and they're, at a really cool bookstore in Northern Michigan, and they take a picture and post that, that's getting more traffic around that organic, I guess, real life post. So there's definitely a balance between scheduling, planning, but also kind of real life too.
Yeah. And I guess that's a good point. It's sometimes like for stories, I don't really think of that as like, I don't plan that out, I guess. So maybe when I say like plan it, I mean reels and videos and carousel, like all the stuff that stays there. But like, I mean, stories, I would do that. Like, oh, here's this cool coffee I got her.
And it's wonderful because that's where people are connecting with you, whether they're parents or moms who, have seen your book and want to connect with the wild and beautiful you. And, the other thing I wanted to ask, so, okay, let's go back to Izzy, Jolene, and Dolly. First of all, I have to know, what kind of pets are they?
Izzy is a coonhound mix. Jolene is a collie lab Newfoundland mix. They're both about like 85 pounds, so they're big dogs. And then Dolly's a cat.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so I wanted to go back there. And then we're going to go into singing. Okay. So have you ever connected your love and passion for singing with your role as an author?
I mean, I think my natural style of writing, which I'm like trying to learn other styles, but I think my natural style of writing is very lyrical because of singing and songwriting. So, I mean, that is an obvious connection. And then one of my goals is to write some stories that can also be sung. I'm not there yet. I have not finished any, but I have, little ideas scrolled. And I actually have a manuscript that I'm querying right now that's about singing. And part of that was also, I had read this article, it was probably years ago, but it was talking about how like millennial moms don't sing to their kids anymore, which it was probably clickbaity, but I was like, oh, well, that'd be nice if there are more like current books where, you could give people resources to do that. Kids love to, I mean, at least my kids, they love to sing.
Yeah. I love that idea.
The small window where they're not telling me to stop singing. So I'm going to keep rolling with it.
I do think that there could be a really beautiful connection though, between singing and your sharing on social media and your love of children's picture books. I think, definitely try to grow that connection because not many people are one, confident at singing and two, good at it. So, and do you have any, when you say singer-songwriter and, writer, who do I think of? I think of Pete the Cat and Eric Litwin. Do you have any picture book writers that you I guess, admire for their songwriting as well?
Ooh, that's a good one. I did not come prepared for that.
That's okay. That's okay. I mean, I just mentioned Pete the Cat. That's out there.
I mean, the one that I can think of immediately, but not necessarily picture books, is Shel Silverstein. I mean, he was a songwriter too.
Yeah.
We had an exhibit on him at the museum while I was
very cool. Yeah. Well, let's just also point out that there aren't many because we're not coming up with them. So
yeah, that's true. It's fair.
So, Amanda, I'm looking forward to what you have coming out in the future because us wild and beautiful mamas need you. So you are most active on Instagram. We're going to make sure that in the show notes, we have all of your handles. What else can you tell us about finding you? Where can people find you? Instagram?
Instagram's the main one. I'm on Twitter as well. And then I will try to be on TikTok. I have not really made that space yet, but I'd like to get there too.
Excellent. And your website. And we're just really excited to share your book with our listeners. And hopefully this will inspire individuals, whether they are self-published or traditionally or hybrid or whatever type of publishing is out there nowadays. We hope that this will inspire individuals to, get out there and connect with others, whether it's in your hometown or, like you said, online. That connection is really helping to get the word out there on your book. So thank you so much. Any final thoughts?
No, just thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We love to highlight authors. We love to highlight Michigan authors especially. And we look forward to our next interview. All of our interviews go out on Tuesdays. And so for those of you listening, stay tuned for another great episode. Thank you.
Cardinal Rule Press offers a variety of support to authors, booksellers, librarians, and families. Find out more at cardinalrulepress.com.